Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 5 of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge series on iRacing. You're joined by, I'm joined by my co-commentator Tom McMahon, and I am James Salt. Good evening, Tom. How are you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Salt. Good evening, everybody. I am very well, thank you. I am thoroughly looking forward to this. A nice British track for us to get our teeth stuck into today.
Indeed, a track that we don't often see, but like you said, British track, known to many around these parts. Also, I guess, for its touring cars, the BTCC that we see here quite often. Round 5 of this series. We've been following it from the start and the end of last season. I must say as well, when it was only the Audis, but now we've got the Porsche, the GT4, as well as the Audi TCR. Thomas Petitjean is back in this split. We didn't have Thomas last week, I think I'm right in saying, Tom.
We saw watching the wings.
He was, yeah. But some regulars that we've seen. I just noticed as well, we were hoping to have a couple of Evo SR guys in this session, but I can't see their names, so...
I think because we were talking off air, obviously we only had about 81 registered for this race, which is about 100 down on last week. So I don't think they've made it due to the shorter. We have 3 splits, 27 in each. So obviously you can see the TCR strength of field is 3.8k, and the GT4s is 4.7k. So you're watching the best out there. Sadly for us, our Evo drivers didn't quite make it, but something to aspire to.
And you mentioned just then the smaller field size of 27, I think, in this session. And we had a few extra registrations which kind of tipped it into the smaller splits, I guess, in terms of number of cars running. So whereas we'd normally see, what do we normally see? About 40 cars roughly in this one, something there or thereabouts.
39 I think is the max. So I mean we've got counting them up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've got 16 of the GT4s and so only 11 TCRs, but hopefully they'll give us a good show.
Georgia Lewis, Chris Daines, names that I recognise. Jack Sedgwick as well. Obviously, Petitjean in the and Sasha Gourlay as well in the GT4. But yeah, these are regular names that we see week in, week out now. Few that I guess are new to this. But the more we cover this series, the more we're getting to know the regular faces, I guess, of the series. Snetterton, you raced this yesterday, Tom, or the day before. How did you get on?
I raced it yesterday. I got a P3. Tough track for the GT4s. Just with all these kind of sweeping turns as we're watching what I would consider the favourite. Hard to get the power down, and then also it's hard to get the braking right for a lot of heavy braking zones. To make sure that you're threshold braking, so you're not slamming into the ABS too much, but you're braking late enough and hard enough to get good braking performance. So a tricky track in that sense. The time difference, it's about 4 seconds between the GT4s and the TCR. So again, no dramas there about running into them. I imagine you're looking for a 54 though for the pole time, and bang! Right on cue, Samuel Liebert does the deed for me. And that's his second lap done and dusted. Looking to Jack Sedgwick, he's put in a very good time. 300ths quicker than Chris Daines. And again, just seeing Thomas Petitjean doing... We saw it at Sonoma, I think it was. He didn't put in a representative first lap. He was focusing on warming his tyres, and he kind of goes for just a one-lap shootout and backs his own ability. And here he comes out the final turn, a little bit scruffy, but towards the line he goes. What can he do? Over the line goes P1.
P1 indeed. Yeah, you were saying you've got to have the confidence with his tactic of setting I guess a slower, first time round, and then putting it all on the table for the second one. But he's done that time and time again, and he's done it this time with a 54.6 to take pole position. The TCRs, yeah, I mean, you mentioned them, they're about 3 or 4 seconds behind the pace of the GT4s, which, yeah, is, I don't know, you know, it should be relatively easy for these guys. Again, it is a top split, and there's less cars running as well, importantly. Chris Dane's currently on a P1 for the TCRs. And we've got Marcus Eichhorn as well. Tyler Maxon, I know, also also races in real life, but he's in there as well. Mateus has made it as well. Who else have we got? I noticed we've got Gonzaga in the field, but
potentially 2 off tracks.
Yeah, he's not set a lap time, has he? Remind me, Tom, do you remember who the winner was last week? Because I know Gonzaga, was it Gonzaga? Hold on to it at the end? I can't remember.
No, he's not Jan. I can't remember his surname.
Oh, it was, yeah, it was...
He's made 1 appearance. We've never seen him in any of the races beforehand, and we've not seen him tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, what a strength of field, though, for the GT4s. As we watch Florian Minkiewicz blink out of thin air, because qualifying is over. And there is your grid.
Thomas Petitjean takes P1, and Samuel Libert takes 2nd place. We've seen that before. Sasha Gorley is 3rd, with Yannick Lapchin in 4th position. Sandoval in 5th, and Aurelien Fago, because Aurelien did ping us after the previous race, or the week before last. Yeah, about that name, because I had a lot of trouble pronouncing that one. Lennart Hartenberg and Alain Nikula takes 8th position. Daniel Muth and Ashley Finch in 10th. TCRs, I know it's Chris Danes and Jack Sedgwick in P2. Florian Minkvich in 3rd, with Rene Mora in 4th position. Petro Zelio in 5th, with Marcus Eichhorn in 6th position. Mateus Okoki in 7th. Tyler Maxon in 8th. Stebani and Mick take 9th and 10th. George Lewis in 11th place. Only 11 of the TCRs in this split. Looking forward to this one. It's an interesting track, like you mentioned. A lot of hard braking zones, super flat surface as well, which I know some don't mind. Some hate them like that, with lack of kind of hills, undulation. But it's a classic British track, I guess. So it's yeah, and some great camera angles as well.
Great camera angles, and it's got the shortest formation lap in iRacing, I'm pretty sure. So we're going to get straight into the action. We start on the final right-hand bend, and then we're pretty much through the left-hander, and away we go. So
we're not going to see any crazy tyre warming then, are we? Well,
if it is, it's limited, and it is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But no, really looking forward to this one. Cold tyres for those sweeping corners makes it all the more interesting. And I believe everyone is on the grid, and we're ready to get this show on the road. Thomas Petitjean, very much the man to beat.
As he sets off, we've got a 30-minute. He's not waiting around. 30 minutes race ahead. Thomas Petitjean in the Porsche GT4, the Cayman, doing some vigorous tyre warming in the limited amount of time that they've got before they get the green light. The safety car will peel off shortly, heading out of the final corner, and Thomas Petitjean just biding his time before he puts his foot down and sends the guys into turn 1. And he's done that indeed, as they set off on this 30-minute race. We're green. This first corner coming up, this long right sweeping corner. Hopefully we get everyone through safely. Petitjean certainly a little bit twitchy for Yannick in P3. First opportunity coming up to make an overtake. Looks like Petitjean's got enough, as we see a couple trying down the inside. Hopefully we don't get any spinners. And it looks like the majority, if not every one of the Porsches, are through safely. How are the TCRs getting on? We've got Chris Danes of Year 1 racing out in front by quite a distance at this point. Jack Sedgwick in 2nd position, followed by Minkvich. They all look like they are through safely as well. And again, Chris Danes stretching his legs.
Yeah, I noticed when the green flag went, the TCRs had hardly got going. So I think either Chris played a blinder, he's already got a second gap. As we then head back to the front. And Petitjean 0.6 of a second away. We have had a crash, however, I believe in the TCRs. We've got Mateus off the road and Anthony Katz was off the road.
So there we see, yeah, Anthony Katz of the GT4s at the back of the field. Looking like a lot of moves going on behind. I mean, this is a technical section, a bit of a chicane. Difficult to get the car slowed down there, Tom. But these guys...
yeah. So tricky, so fiddly. But they all managed it. It is a good overtaking opportunity, as we see. I believe that is... Is it Aurelien on the inside?
That's contact,
no,
and we've lost a wing mirror.
And that's not going to...
Oh, he's just got through there safely. But now he's on the back foot, is he? As we see Petitjean over the line, followed by Samuel Lebert. Yannick Lapchin in third position. Sacha Gourlay down in fourth. We're on board with Van der Wel into turn one, currently in seventh position. And I think as the weeks go by, Tom, these guys are certainly getting to grips with these cars, and they're giving us some great racing to watch.
That's... Oh!
I spoke too soon, and we've got...
Way too soon.
We've got 3 cars involved in...
Big damage.
Although that car's miraculously had a bit of a facelift on my screen.
Mine got the same as well.
Alan Nikula getting away. He's down in 13th. I'm not sure where he was before all that happened. Let's have a look at this. So it's Nikula in the white car, doing nothing wrong at this point. The guy's in front. Bit of contact. Oh, he just gets tagged from behind. And then...
I mean, it looks like he did change his line slightly. We'll hop back to live action. We can come and have a look at that later in the race. At the end of the race, I should say, having a look back to the TCRs, Jack Sedgwick still a second behind, but starting to close Chris Danes in. But that has really shuffled the pack of the GT4s. There's some big names that got hit out of in that crash. Pretty messy. I think you put the commentator's curse on them there, Mr. Salt.
I did, yeah. It's not happened yet, but it has now. But the top 3 in the GT4s covered by 1.2 seconds, so that race is very much on. We've not seen Petitjean getting away so soon anyway. And we know Samuel is quick in second position. Yannick, have we seen Yannick before in third position?
I don't think we have, but he is sporting the number 1. He is 7,800 iRacing, so he's got some pace.
As indeed.
To see him chasing them down.
But it was Petitjean that time around under no pressure, setting the quickest lap of the race with 55.56. Yannick into this hairpin. Like you mentioned, one of the strong overtaking opportunities there. Down in the TCRs, we've got Marcus Eichhorn running in 5th position.
Got 3 teammates.
JSR.
Yeah, we do. All running line astern, which if they catch the stream, that'll look nice for them. Maybe a nice action shot for them.
It will. Photo opportunity for them guys. We're watching P10. Lucas Gergitz under pressure from... Who was he under pressure from? Marken Kovas. With very interesting... I don't know, advertisement of trading paints, I guess. But,
yeah.
I mean, there's better paints out there, but, you know, that's where you get them from, basically. They're heading... Where are they on track? That's the difficulty with the closer... There we go. Okay, I see where they are now. Top 3 are still very much, well, 1.4 seconds in the GT4s. Chris Danes is about a second from Jack Sedgwick. Gonzaga not challenging at the front this week. We did see that last week. We saw a great race with him. He's down in 9th position, but still a relatively strong showing for him. He's the number 7 car. Currently running 9th.
Up 6 spots though, because he's obviously started at the back. So I think he completely ruined his qualifying. And he's trying to make his way back through the pack, and he's done a good job of clouting that curve, but getting through the pack as well, avoiding incidents. On to the start finish straight, will hop on board with Mr. Gonzaga, but looks like Salas Lanza is breaking away slightly as we head into turn 1. This is such a tricky corner. Such a tricky corner. You can easily run wide in the grass, especially on this new tarmac. It's so slippy. But no dramas for anyone there. Chris Danes, no, Jack Sedgwick setting fastest lap of the race.
Oh wow, that is. I wonder if Chris made a slight mistake there, because that, I mean, he's only lost half a second, but that's everything when you in this top split against Jack Sedgwick. But we know he's quick. Not to say that Chris Danes isn't, but this is very much, yeah, I mean, it's back in Jack's court, whereas I think Chris is now probably looking in his mirror a little bit closely, a little bit more closely than he was last time around. As we see a move, is that round the outside or is that up the inside?
Aurelian coming back through the pack. Has the inside for the left-hander. That is job done.
Not very happy, the guy behind. And also, we're seeing a move and we've had contact.
That was a bit more aggressive. Oh, there goes a wing mirror. He's getting absolutely bullied. Valentina, stop flashing your lights and get your elbows out, because you're getting...
Huge twitch from the guy in front there on that car. He's getting away though, he got away with that, although a huge run as well from the guy behind. And it's a big braking opportunity coming through. I don't think we're going to see the end of these three battling. I'm just waiting for someone. We've got a spinner, and we've got a huge contact, and these three managed to get through unscathed by the looks of it, but who was that?
Lucas.
I wonder if he span on his own and just...
I think he did.
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to take way too much speed in.
Oh, wow. Oh, dear. Oof, okay. And it just rolls back onto the racing line and ruins somebody's day. I don't know who that was, unfortunately, getting collected for Lucas's mistake.
Was it Aurelian? Yes, it was.
Oh, dear.
Bad.
Fargo... yeah, he's taken a lot of damage with that, running down in 14th. I mean, I'm surprised his steering's pointing the right direction with that. It might not be, to be honest.
That car has been through it. But the action carries on. Oh my
And we've seen up. Jesus! It's all happening. What on earth did we just see then? Did we just see some retaliation? I hope not. Because that felt and sounded like a lot more. Oh, he's off the grass and he's struggling to get hold of it. Hits the arm cove, can't get it stopped, and T-bones.
Oh my word!
This is top split, ladies and gentlemen, but it's a tricky car. Let's give them that. And also, I think Ala Nikula also had the damage as well. So whether they're struggling with steering input issues, I'm not too sure, but that was a big hit. But it does promote Fargo up into 12th position, was down in 14th, under a lot of pressure from, that must be Sander, yeah it is, Van der Wel. Chris Dane's still out in front, I say out in front, 0.8 seconds, so not much at all from Jack Sedgwick. This week, Tom, we're seeing, I guess, you know, we saw such a close race last week, whereas this, I wonder if the track's just catching a few people out. The fact that it's not a regular anymore, or a regular on the iRacing calendar, we don't see it all that often. It's proving...
It's such a tricky track.
Yeah.
And also, overtaking is hard, so I think you've got to really force moves, whereas obviously we had Road America, which kind of promote a bit of slipstream, can make almost easier overtakes, whereas this you really have to force the issue.
Yeah, I mean, like that last corner, well, the second to last corner, long sweeping, never-ending right-hander into that left 90 degree, you know, onto the pit straight. It's just, it's a tricky combination of corners, but it's not just that combination around this track. The whole thing's quite technical, to be honest.
I just saw that Samuel Liebert just set his the fastest lap of the race, about 2/10 quicker than Thomas Petitjean up at the top, so something to keep an eye on there. Jack Sedgwick hasn't really got any closer than that kind of 7 and 8/10 gap, so we'll keep you posted on that. This is the closest action on track, and it's for P4. We've got Lennart Hartenberg chasing after Sasha Gourlay, who I believe won at Sonoma after Thomas ran into some trouble with some back markers. So we know Flash has got a serious turn of pace. It's all of these types of corners. You can see them kind of soaring, little inputs on the wheel as you try and get the power down. Heading down into this tricky chicane.
Be interesting to watch them through this section actually, because is he going to overlook? He's got out of that. I mean, it's like you said, it's an overtaken opportunity, but it's also super technical, and we've already seen a guy lose it entirely through that section. Back end slightly stepping out, and this is the long sweeping right-hander, which progressively you slow it down. If you're too keen on the brakes, Tom, you lose a back end and it's game over.
Yep. And it's all about keeping to the right to set up the exit, obviously. Just taking note though, as we flick back on board with Jack Sedgwick, he's right up behind Chris Danes now. Again, Lee Bear from the GT4 set fastest lap of the race.
So Jack doing a good job, but I think equally Chris doing a fantastic job, just keeping cool. He's out in front, led from the start. We've not seen so much of a challenge yet, although that's going to delay his power. Surely this is going to be interesting. I'm sure Chris is going to keep the car right going into turn 1. And this is can he keep it on the right hand side, defend into turn 2, or can Jack carry that extra speed? I think Jack's probably got a better exit. Will Jack have a look down the inside? He's showing the nose. But yeah, Chris survives that slight mistake out of the last corner. And these guys, 0.2 on the track. This is the closest they've been. But as I was saying, Chris is still doing a relatively good job. He's out in front, led from the start. But this is now a serious challenge that we're seeing from Jack. The guys behind, I wonder if what their lap times look like. We've got Sandro. And then I guess Marcus Icon a little bit too far behind, but we've got the Porsche running in there as well, trying to unlap himself. Down in 14th, that's Lucas Gergitz.
After his major off at the chicane, so fighting his way back through the field. Petitjean still leading, but only 0.3 of a second to this man, who seems to have some serious pace. Obviously, he's getting a little bit of slipstream, which is quite a big factor. That was slightly wide for Petitjean. Just missed the apex slightly, so you'll see that gap on the timing board reduce down the interval, so under 0.3 it goes, under 2.5, so he's getting much closer, 54.4. The Lee Bears, they went across the line.
Probably too far back to try anything at this point, I would suspect, as we see in formation around the hairpin. Thomas Petitjean in front. We're on board with Samuel Libert. And this is Aurelien Fago. Is that... So we're going into turn 1. I'm surprised Aurelien's so competitive, but because we saw a huge smash, didn't we, that he was involved in.
I wonder if... Well, other than a completely battered car, I think he's slow in a straight, because he didn't tuck out of that slipstream at all, and I wonder if he's already tried it, and if he does go... Oh, he's been nudged.
He has been nudged. He's been absolutely battered in this race, to be honest. It's not... No one's necessarily been kind and giving him space in this one, but he's got the damage now, which is probably slowing him down. So it's only inviting more action around him.
He's lost his left wing mirror. It's a sorry-looking car.
It is.
Jack Sedgwick is right on the bumper still of Chris Danes, and I wonder if he's just going to sit for a while, sit in the slipstream, and wait for maybe another mistake. Chris showing some really good pace, really, really competitive. And that's sometimes what Snetterton of these more obscure tracks, not obscure, it's not an obscure track, but less raced on the service, can throw up. I mean, we've got Lennart Hartenberg, who really we haven't seen much of, but is pushing Sasha Goy, who's had pace all season long, has been right up at the top, and giving a really good run for their money. It's
interesting that, yeah, I mean, we cover this week in, week out. This is week number 5. Yeah, there's names that we haven't seen, but they've chose to race this session at Snetterton. The fact that it's Snetterton, do you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it feels like not the track that to bring the people, but certainly the diehards that, you know, we're watching Petitjean, we see him every week, we see Sacha Gaulet, we see Marcus Eichhorn, stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting that we've got some unfamiliar names that are so competitive in this car, clearly.
Yeah.
Samuel is also one of them that's always competitive. We've seen him challenging Petitjean before. I think wherever Samuel goes with a 7,500 I rating, he's probably going to be pretty competitive. Yeah. Jack Sedgwick, by the way, with his WC license. Do we actually know what WC stands for, other than Pro, right?
Yes, it is.
What does it actually stand for?
He has qualified for the Porsche Cup Esports.
Got it.
And so if you qualify for that, that is the Pro Series that is currently on iRacing, so you get a Pro license.
Interesting.
So
got it.
So I'm not sure exactly where, or when, I should say, they run those races. But yeah, so he's up there racing with the Benekes and the Verstappens of this world.
Got it. Okay.
Was also famed for his skill in a TCR car, which makes this performance from Chris Daines all the more impressive. So
indeed. Yeah.
We have had a crash. It was Augusti who made a real meal of the turn 2. And
I mean, can be forgiven because that car, has he just pulled over and quit?
Yeah, he just pulls over. Has enough of it.
Not for me. Not another 13 minutes of driving that. Jack Sedgwick, we just saw, I wonder if he's just losing a bit of the car there, but he dropped back slightly, only a tenth or two, but yeah, really putting the pressure on now. Chris Daines in front of him, but as you mentioned, Chris doing a fantastic job, led from the start. We are 17, nearly 18 minutes into this. Yeah, it's been a good race. It's been a race that we saw at the start of the season where we do see some of the guys get split up. We've got, you know, some of the Porsches a little bit further down the field, but yeah, kind of accepted with the track in terms of how technical it is, and it's also not familiar to a lot of the guys. But Thomas Petitjean.
Anthony Cat is making a bit of a nuisance of himself, because Sandro was catching up to the top 2, but obviously I think these Porsches are going to try and get past Chris and Jack, so if he bides his time, he should be able to catch back up, and we might have a 3-way fight for the... And we've got Sander has got past Aurelian down into the hairpin. Here it is again. Simple move on the brakes. Are we going to have any contact? Because no, Aurelian just goes straight on.
He's got the move done, but then Fargo not letting him get away. And back to the TCRs, Chris Daines. I mean, we've got a couple of Porsches into the mix as well now, which is not going to be something these guys want. They want to concentrate on their own race. We've got the 14 and 15 car, 14th and 15th for the Porsches trying to get through. Here comes an opportunity for them because the Porsche slightly quicker in a straight line than the Audi. I do wonder. Oh, he's lifting. He's letting them race. That's good. As we see side-by-side action in front. Can you make a move? Yeah, I'm going to say, can you make a move around the outside there to set up? Yeah, to set up the second part of that technical section, that chicane.
I will happily admit that that's where I lost my P2 in my race. The guy behind got a really good run. I decided to defend to the inside, and as long as you've got a willing party, which I was very fair, and I didn't push them across the grass. You can do around the outside, so you have the inside for the right hand.
Yeah.
It is a little bit risky. Obviously, as I said, you are exposing yourself to potential for just getting shoved off the track. As Jack goes for a move around the outside of turn 1, probably looking for a switchback move.
We've seen this before, but this is the closest indeed that we've seen Jack. As Chris goes to the inside, he's got that line covered. I mean, I don't think Jack's going to hang it around the outside around there, as Chris does slot back in front. Jack's turning up the pressure again now. We've got 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes to go. Can he have a look down the inside there? It's like Chris has just done enough, opens up the corner. Will he move to the inside? Slightly defending, he is. And this is certainly the best action we're seeing on track, although the Porsches are only half a second still for P1 and 2 in that series. But right now, we're having a look at Jack Sedgwick.
Quick note, Lennart has got past Sasha. And I believe it is this moment where...
Like Sasha got, yeah, I mean, he compromised his drive getting on the grass there out of there. So, I mean, yeah, quite a straightforward move, and it was really Sasha's mistake that invited... yeah, well, basically lost our position due to that. Jack Sedgwick, can he hang it around the outside into what the corner that we were just talking about? Can he do a fantastic move around the outside? He's now got the inside for this right-hander, and he's done it. That's a fantastic move, textbook for around this track. Good move.
But if Chris can stay close, which he should be able to, he might be able to slipstream down to turn 1. I mean, they've been so equal on pace that I don't think this is done yet. Can he get a good run? Jack's pulled a couple of tenths out of the last corner, but into the slipstream Chris settles.
But we saw last time round, Jack was so close, wasn't it, through that turn 1? But that was a fantastic move that we saw in what is, yeah, one of the overtaking spots, but you certainly have to have two equal parties that are, yeah, respectful of each other, and we saw that, and it was a great move. Chris, yeah, I mean, he's all over the back. Let's see what Chris has got. I mean, he's got 8 minutes. We know he's quick. He's led for the most part of this race, but Jack's also, obviously, an incredible talent behind this wheel of the TCR.
Here's the move. Round the outside. He got far enough alongside. Now has the high ground. Didn't even need to shove him out. He was actually very respectful on not pushing him out, but then gets ahead. And let's see if he can pull away.
That's great racing. Yeah, let's see that indeed. I mean, the gap is 0.3, so at this point, he's led about a lap, I'd say, maybe 90% of a lap of this race. But yeah, Chris doing a good job. She's staying with him, and he's still got 7 minutes left.
Just trying to have a look. This is actually the closest battle we've got on track at the moment between Anthony and Lucas for P14. And he's just seen the TCR's give it a good go. Anthony down the inside, that's wide for Lucas. He's going to get it back. And there's another example around the outside.
Interesting. That's a great move. And the Audi's slotted in as well, so that's not going to do any favours. For yeah, good stuff. That's P14 and P13 in the GT4s. Still less than a second at the front for them guys.
Tim had a moment all on his own, I believe. Oh, where's
bit of lawn mowing, cutting the grass. I think that's towards the end of the lap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tim hit pass.
This I saw. I did see it. Yeah, there we go. Because I saw it, and this is just where these guys were coming through. So that's why it was for P14. But now that's all changed. We've got Sandro closing back in a little bit to Chris and Jack. Although Jack's really put the hammer down. Last time around they were in the 57s, 57.6 and 57.4. Sandro a little bit further back with a 57.65, so hardly anything, but just starting to lose touch slightly. Back to the front, Samuel, I mean, he's not exactly away from Thomas Petitjean, but he's not quite at that 2-3 tenths margin that we saw.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, knowing what Petitjean's like, we rarely see a mistake from Petitjean. We did see one, I believe, and that was that race 1? Or I can't remember, where he had, it was race 1, I think, at Laguna Seca, where he had such a lead that despite spinning and losing the rear spoiler, he still went on to win.
Yeah.
If he does that in this race, he's not going to be so lucky because Samuel is only half a second behind, but he's been half a second behind.
That's not your race. I know he's entitled to, but when you're only racing, you're at the back, and that's for the lead. I don't know. That always that would irk me if I was Chris. Hopefully now Anthony's going to blast past Jack as well, and they can resume their battle.
Or if you're Chris Danes, I'm sure you are hoping that it's not so courteous of Anthony just when he does get past Jack. If he does try, I don't know. He's lost that gap now, hasn't he? I mean, he's about a second, I would say.
I mean, to be fair, Anthony did do a 56th one, so he's got 1.3 seconds quicker.
Will he have a look down the inside? Ooh, not this time.
And speaking, nope, my timing's gone slightly awry. I thought there was a smaller gap at the front, but it's still 0.6. And this is going to be Anthony down the inside, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much it's going to compromise Jack, because, well, it's allowed Chris to get to half a second. Was a little bit closer than that, wasn't it? So Chris does need to pull 2 tenths back to get back to where he was, but the time is slipping away. 27 minutes almost into this race. We are going over the line. Yeah, 2 to go. So we're starting a penultimate lap. This is close. 0.2. I think this is the closest we've seen these guys.
I'd definitely say. Definitely the closest they've been. They've been just a little bit in terms of pace all on their own. Yannick slightly slipped back in P3. Still doing a very sterling job on his debut on our broadcasted race.
Yeah, he is indeed. Yeah, P3. Yeah, we've not seen him before. Chris Danes back with him. He's got back onto the.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, onto the back of Jack Sedgwick in front. I mean, I guess the toe's going to come into play, especially at that distance, and we've got the start-finish straight coming up. So he's still got a couple of laps left. But the pace of Jack Sedgwick, I do wonder whether he's just got the edge over Chris, but still a fantastic showing from Chris. He's on to gain 41 iRacing at this point to add to his already.
The fastest lap of the race.
Oh, did he? Indeed. Right. So, interesting.
He's still got something in him. This is definitely the closest we've seen this. Between Leader and Petitjean.
It's so interesting just to watch these guys through these technical corners on this track. I mean, if we see a change for the lead at this point of the race, it'd be surely a momentous move to make this happen, especially on Petitjean. It's just super quick round here in this car, in any track that we visit.
And that's just enough of a buffer, 4 tenths as they head across the line. It's hardly anything.
Over there you go. Into turn 1. I believe they've probably got the white flag now. So last lap.
Last lap.
They have indeed.
Hurrah indeed.
Let's see if Samuel can do anything. I mean, we've got the obvious. I say the obvious. That was one obvious opportunity out the way. That hairpin at the start of the lap, and then we've got the opportunity mid part of the lap, closer towards the end, I guess, where we saw Jack Sedgwick run the outside of Chris Danes. That's coming up as well.
I think that's the chance, because that's another one just gone, but that's wide. That's slightly wide.
He lost about 2 or 3 tenths through there. He's back to half a second. Was about 0.3. So it could be that potential.
Just went off the track. Just saw a little red flash. That was a little bit wide.
I wonder if he just cut one of the apexes, something like that, just to take a 1x. Chris Danes, Jack Sedgwick, they are 0.7, so unless Chris pulls something out of the bag or Jack makes a mistake, I'd say that's a little bit too far for anything to happen. Samuel Libert on board with him going into the last few corners. I think equally, I don't think he's close enough to challenge Petitjean. And if I'm right, we're going to see Petitjean take another victory in this top split race in this series, the Michelin Pilot Challenge. And he's leading the series, Tom, I would imagine, by quite a way.
I'd say this has probably been his best performance. Been hounded less than a second the whole way round, but job done.
Done indeed. He's done enough. Led from the start. And he takes the victory in the Porsches. Back in the TCRs, I think we've got Chris at about a second now, so it looks like that challenge for the lead. I mean, it was a fantastic race. It was a fantastic pass. And Chris led 2/3, I guess, of the whole race, but we just saw that stellar move around the outside into this section coming up by Jack Sedgwick in front of him. That, yeah, sealed the what's going to be the victory, I would imagine, for Jack.
Just a little note on how good Petitjean was. That last lap, he set the fastest lap of the race.
So he wasn't really holding back anything.
I think that's under that much pressure on the last lap to put in the fastest lap is quite something. But bravo, Jack Sedgwick. Great move. Great respectful racing between the two of them. I thoroughly enjoyed that battle.
Yeah, that's Jack taking the victory here at Snetterton with Chris Daines. Good job, Chris, taking second position. And then it's the teammates of Sandro, Marcus Eichhorn. And did we get 3 in a row for that team? I'm not sure. We certainly got 2 in a row. I'm not sure what happened to the third. There we go, Rene Mora in 6th position. That was a good race, Tom. I think it could have been it could have been a lot worse, but it was a really good race because, again, this track, very difficult. We did see some questionable, I say questionable, we saw a lot of mistakes out there which led to some drivers, yeah, being taken out, unfortunately. Mateus down in 10th. Not seen Mateus really a part of this race, I think. Yeah, not one. I mean, he's, what, 2.4 off the guy in front in 9th, so a quiet race from him, P10. And then George Lewis as well. I'm not sure what happened to George. He was at the back, I believe.
Just
yeah,
parked, I believe.
Unless there was any lap 1 shenanigans that we just didn't see. But yeah. Tom, how's the system today? How's the look back? Does that work?
I'm flicking around. I've been given the yellow light to say that I can display the results. However, they're not.
They're just not. It's
not playing ball. So what I can do is the best bet is to do that, and then that kind of gives us.
Well, Thomas Petitjean, as we know, P1. Samuel Libert takes 2nd, and Yannick Lapchin takes P3. In the TCRs, we've got Jack Sedgwick and Chris Daines, and then Sandro Petroziolo takes the final podium position in the TCRs. Marcus Eichhorn in 4th position for those guys in the TCRs. But yeah, Marcus we see very regularly. Sasha Gourlay in 5th, Daniel Muth in 6th, back in the GT4s. So yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. I think it's one of them tracks that I think a lot of the guys probably saw on the calendar, probably say, yes, I'll rate it. Might not be one of the best. Where are we at next week? Do we know?
We do know. Let me
just have a quick look myself if I can get that on my screen.
Should if I do that?
Suzuka. There we go. Although we still have the race standings as well. It's a bit of a... We can see that, though. Suzuka, and then Silverstone the week after that. Mid-Ohio, Road Atlanta, Donington Park, and then Interlagos and Mount Panorama, Bathurst to finish off the 12-week schedule.
So what I was going to just have a little look back at was this incident where we had...
So he did move.
Yeah,
under braking as well, you would say.
Just roll this back slightly, and I think the best camera will be an onboard with Daniel, and
brake lights are on, so he's certainly moving under braking.
That's, I'm afraid, I would have to lay that at Augusti. That is your fault, my friend.
Because he was braking and moving.
Yes, so I think if we roll this back, at this point, Daniel is committed to that line and is always going to try and brake later. Brake lights on, then he moves across.
Yeah. And that
there's
led
nothing.
to that.
Yeah, and that's
Which not only ruined his race, it also took two others with him as well.
and then we had another one, didn't we? Where I think was it Augusti himself then got it all wrong. Yes, he did. We're gonna have a look at this one, where we are. And he's just dropped it. He thought he saved it. Now we're back on, and this grass is so slippery, and it'll be just his foot will be hard on the brake, and
I said, oh man, and he knew what was coming. He wasn't getting that stopped, and yes, not the best race for him.
But what I will like to go back and look at, if I can find it in my deep in the depths of, and I think this is it. No, wrong one. We're just having a look through.
Are we looking for the pass?
Yes,
For the
I
race
see
lead.
that move again, and I believe it is. This is going to be the move. So what can we have a look at? We could go with.
I mean, it's certainly a move that I've seen in the TCRs in real life in the BTCC, and it's good to see in this. You're right. You know, it can be a disaster doing this move both in real life and in sim.
Because obviously, Chris has left so much room, and it's because Jack's got his car nicely alongside. I just think it's great. Oh, I was going to say such clean racing. I'm pretty sure the Porsches came together just behind, but no, that is a great move and one for the archives as a race-winning move. So I thought
it was indeed.
It was worth another look.
We've got Fago in chat saying no look for him. Yeah, basically just mentioning the crashes in his race, and we saw them, didn't we, Tom? We saw.
I was going to say
not the race for him to remember.
Aurelian, you can go back through the stream, and I think we catch every single one of you just getting bullied and bashed and crashed.
Yeah,
and it just wasn't your day. But I'm sure next week at Suzuka you'll have a better race.
Looking forward to Suzuka next week. It's back to a track which I think everyone loves. It does seem to be certainly a driver's track. Looking forward to going there and seeing the guys race around there. That's going to be good. We'll end, Tom, and say goodbye to everyone. If you liked what you see, please do drop us a follow, a subscribe. We're on Facebook and YouTube. We will be back next week at the same time of 7:15 UK. Until then, enjoy your racing. I know it's the Easter weekend coming up as well for a lot, so hopefully everyone's healthy and stays safe. But until then, we will, wish you farewell and see you next week. Thanks for joining us, and thanks again, Tom, as well, for joining me.
Thank you, Mr. Salt. Take care, everyone.
See you later.